Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Connect Your Soul's Desires with Your Chakras and Vagus Nerve. Learn to calm your nervous system so your soul can guide your life. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be with you here, getting to learn right alongside with you about this fascinating interface between the more etheric, esoteric dimensions of our soul and how that gets concretely anchored in our body through chakras and the vagus nerve. And we're going to learn a really fascinating synthesis from a woman who's been doing some very pioneering work in this arena. Her name is CJ Llewellyn. She's a trauma therapist, Reiki master, and author, and came to our attention about a year ago, and we just really love what she's up to. So you're going to be in for a treat. So CJ, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. Well, I want to let everyone know right up front that we're going to have this time, and we've got some really deep practices that you're going to engage and insights. And we also have a chance to go much deeper with CJ in a brand new program called Harmonize Your Vagus Nerve and Chakras to Manage Trauma Response. So we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour. So CJ, I always like to begin these hours with a bit about your story, since there's invariably something about your background that led you to this interesting intersection between vagus nerve and chakras. So why don't you share a little bit about what compelled you to move in this direction?
Some of it was just this drive to do trauma work as a therapist. And I was having the understanding of the etheric energies as well. And as I got deeper into the work with my clients, I was starting to see the alignment with our vagus nerve. I'll tell you more about that in a second, why that's important. And the alignment of the messaging in our chakras. For instance, the lower chakras have a lot of feeling and felt experience, but not a lot of the memories that we think of in regards to our thinking memories. And so I started to really listen deeper, and I started to realize, wow, the chakras are really aligning with our vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is the largest autonomic branch of our nervous system. And it really works in service of us in regards to safety. And I've been learning and working with it over the years through a couple of different approaches. And I was like, wow, this is really aligning. So I started working with my clients in that regard and really helping them to tune into their bodies, both as we're working through maybe a traumatic event or even just in their grounding and their resourcing. So yeah, and then I wrote about it. So now I'm talking more about it, not just to my clients, but to the outside world. So it's a very exciting concept, because if you think about it, it is the spiritual self. We come into these bodies to have this experience, and then we have this body. So we have this very human tension between our body and how it registers and holds and programs trauma in our system when we have trauma, and then how our spirit wants to kind of keep moving forward. Our soul wants these experiences, but our body sometimes can hold us back. So to me, that was the core. That became the driving force for me in regards to trauma work. And the observation has been really profound.
You were destined for it. So let's talk, so for folks who are less familiar with the vagus nerve and what happens during a trauma. So something happens to our body that threatens our safety, our sense of survival, or even psychological well-being. What does the vagus nerve do? And then how does that impact the energy system of the chakras?
The vagus nerve is the largest autonomic branch of our nervous system, and it's connected to our major organs. It's there in service of safety for us. It's reading cues constantly. And when we are in danger, it is telling our body to run, to fight, or even to freeze. Our soul, the energy of our soul, is connected through this nervous system, and it represents in the chakras. If our vagus nerve is misreading safety cues, and it is firing us off to run or to fight or to freeze when we are actually safe, what happens is our nervous system starts derailing our soul's purpose.
Have you share a little bit about safety on multiple levels? I think a lot of times when we're thinking this chakra system, for instance, it's usually safety is sort of like a first chakra issue or maybe a first and second, but it's
Mhm.
sounds like safety is really like more all system in a way. It's like that it impacts all levels of our energy system.
I love that question. Yes. Yes. And when you correlate that with the chakras, we think the root chakra, body, we think physical safety, which is important. And that's the thing that gets the most obvious sometimes when we think of safety. We're thinking about buckling up before we get in the car, before we start the car, kind of safety. Or is this person going to hit me? Safety. But there's also emotional safety. People who are inconsistent with us, people who are manipulative with us, that creates a sense of lack of safety in our body. We may not even be aware of that because we may only be thinking about physical safety. There's emotional safety, there's psychological safety, being consistent, being loving, being someone who is safe. And of course, we can only be safe with others if we're feeling safe within ourselves. That's really important, and that's part of what I really drop down to when I teach people this. But also financial safety, which kind of cycles back around because we need the resources. So there's a lot more in regards to safety. And sometimes that lack of safety shows up in our bodies, and it doesn't make sense. Our brain is going, I don't understand this. Why am I having this response? It's ingrained in our system on a deeper level. And that to me is why it's so important for people to really drop down and know this information, walk with this information, being aware throughout life. Oh, that was a little bit of a response from my body. That wasn't necessarily an emotion, because it's emotion that we access when our body is actually safe. The rest is coming from a more complex system here.
Hmm. And so it sounds like once the vagus nerve is activated, there's a threat to safety or some impact on our safety. Then it kind of goes into a bit of over arousal, and maybe share a little bit about how that then becomes more frozen over time or a barrier to actually like bringing more of our soul energy in.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also there's that hyper arousal, but that hypo arousal. That's that shutdown. That's when that's when that immobility branch of our vagus nerve will shut us down to conserve energy. We can no longer function. We have to lay on the couch. We want to just check out. So we have both branches in there that are responding again to interpretation, and it could be their interpretation of what we hear or see or smell. When we can discern what is happening with our body, then we can help to shift those branches. We can get out of immobility, work our way back into mobility, and then eventually into safety. The safety branch is that ventral vagal portion of our nervous system that connects to the heart, it connects to the throat, it connects to our eyes. We are in safety here. So people talk about getting into the safety branch, getting into safety through the vagus nerve. But you know what? There's also times when we don't need to be in safety mode. We need to get out of here, or we need to, exit a situation. So that becomes the discernment within our body, and it's very nuanced. It's powerful. It's really, I think it also takes the shame out of sometimes when we overreact or underreact, because we interpret, we put meaning to those situations, and they could come from family history. But when we can understand that we're having this reaction and it is a response within our system, we don't have to shame ourselves. We can understand where it's coming from.
So let's shift over to the chakras now. From the chakra perspective, the chakras in many ways are about like how are we channeling our soul energy into form in many ways. And so how do the chakras then get affected by and then also impact on the vagus nerve activities?
The chakras in general, and I'm talking in this case, I really talk about, like in my book, I'm talking about the 7 main chakras, because many approaches, many spiritual approaches will see more than just the 7. But in this case, because I see them so succinctly aligning with our nervous system, our vagus nerve, I utilize the 7 of them. So I had a question once from somebody in a podcast that said, well, can you connect to your nerve or your chakras when you're scared or you have to run? Like, don't worry about it. Right? I mean, we have to utilize our movement. We'll worry about how we connect back in later. But the chakras themselves, I sort of think of them almost as like apertures in a camera. You know, they open, they close, they're responding, they're interacting. And I personally see this as that soul energy that comes in to have this human experience that drives our system. Because when we leave our bodies, our system can't be driven anymore. So what I have been seeing is that energy that presents through the chakras. It could be the energy of survival through the root, which goes down into a lot of that dorsal vagal, a lot of the mobility and immobility. As we move up, what we start seeing and here in our heart chakra is the safety branches, is the connection with others, because we can only be connected and safe when we feel safe with others. You know, we're herd animals. We need to be connected with others. We need to find those people we feel safe with. So the chakras themselves start really representing with certain energy experiences, with certain experiences within the body. And they seem to align, especially when we get back up into our ventral vagal, into our safety. We can feel it. We feel the opening in our throat. We can feel the opening in our heart chakra. Our third eye, we can start engaging in deeper symbolism, right, through our third eye.
So in terms of unraveling some of the trauma patterns, where do you start?
Well, it's not simple, and everybody's talking, which is so good. Everybody's talking about trauma these days, but it's a complex, underneath that one little word is a complex experience, because everybody has different experiences with their trauma. Some people have childhood trauma, which are multiple patterns that are affecting their development. Some people have really secure, attached relationships growing up, but they might have an awful experience in a car accident. So trauma affects us all differently. And frankly, being human is hard. Being on this earth has components of difficulties to it that instill us with some fear and some lack of safety. So there's a spectrum on trauma in itself. So if I'm working with someone within childhood, early childhood experiences, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for the client to trust their own experiences, let alone them trusting me through that process. If I'm working with someone who's been in a bad car accident, we might be able to work through that specific incident somewhat quickly. So we walk throughout the world, and sometimes we don't know we're interacting based on our traumatic patterns from maybe childhood. And, we continue to have these same experiences over and over, difficult relational experiences. It's when we can kind of start reflecting on the patterns that we can look back and say, okay, something is going on here. And it's not my emotion. It's these responses that are patterned into my system, and I want to shift them.
Beautiful. Well, let's dive into, I know you want to lead us into an experiential embodiment of this. So maybe you want to set that up and then lead that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I just feel is so important for all of us to really understand, and I think we all struggle with it because we are told thinking is the only way out. But the experience that visceral, that just the experience of embodiment is so important for our messaging. And frankly, I believe that this is where we really feel the messages of our soul. It communicates differently. It does not communicate in words. It does not communicate in that language. It communicates through just energy, symbols, maybe memories. So what I want to do right now is walk you through this experience of allowing your body to do the bottom-up processing. So what we're going to do is just walk through the chakras, just touching and allowing ourselves to have that moment of connection and staying open, creating some space. I would say it's like holding a bird in your hand. more than trying to figure it out with a tight fist. And so we're going to get you into some bottom-up processing experience here. So go ahead and just take a breath. Just take a breath through your nose and slowly blow out through your mouth. And this definitely engages all that safety factors that we were just talking about, the safety branches in our vagus nerve. And just take your dominant hand and just go ahead and put it on your root chakra and just allow yourself kind of feel around for where the energy feels the strongest and just sit. And if you feel safe, just go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to close mine too. Go ahead and close your eyes and allow yourself to just connect with that energy. Being curious, being inquisitive. We are holding space for whatever is there. We're not going to try to discern it. We're not going to try to focus on outcome. We're just going to let it be felt. And just breathe into that area of your body. Just be curious. Whatever is there. There's no right, there's no wrong. And allow your body to soften enough that whatever information comes up, just note it and thank it. Just breathe. Just take a couple more breaths. And just take your other hand and just rest it on the energy around your sacral chakra, wherever you feel that energy. And you can still keep your hand on the root chakra and then one on the sacral. And just soften your belly with your breath. And just be curious about the energy in that region of the body. Let it know you want to hear what it has to say in whatever form it takes. And just allow that information to be received. There's no judgment here. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. And now just keeping your hand on your sacral chakra, let your other hand move up the ladder into the solar plexus. I call this one the mind. This is where we get our identity. Our early identities, how we interact in the world. Just be curious. No matter what the energy feels like, be curious with it. Make the space for it. Just let it know you want to hear what it has to say. Again, there's no judgment. Everyone is going to have a different experience here, and it's unique. And now just take your hand and put it up to your heart. Hold on to your solar plexus for a minute. And just breathe in through your nose. Out through your mouth. And just connect to this region of your body. Notice what's there. And just stay open to any information that's coming. Just observe. Now take your hand that was over your heart. Gently just rest it on your throat. A little bit of pressure, if you want, between the middle finger and the thumb. Just find that little point that wants just a little pressure under your jaw. And let your palm rest on your throat. Letting the energy of your palm connect to your throat as you're touching up here into the nerves along your jaw. And then take your other hand and just set it on the crown chakra. Again, where the energy in your palm connects to your crown. And just settle into this. And know that you are safe. Breathe in through your nose. Slow breath out through your mouth. And as you sit here, just cradling your head, your throat, your crown chakra, I want you to think of an experience of joy. Is it through a person or a place or a thing, or an animal? Just pull that vision of joy into your mind and allow yourself to focus on it. Just continue to focus on the details of that joy, that joyful object or person or place. And if this joy even has a pleasant smell, see if you can try to smell it as you hold the image in your mind's eye. And before you move your hands, I want you to thank your body for any of the messages that it brought to you today. Just thank it. We certainly don't do enough of that, do we? Just thank it for showing up. Thank it for the work it does. Now I'm going to add a little something I end up with when I do my telehealth clients. Just go ahead and reach your arms way up as if you're pushing against the ceiling. Kind of stretching through your torso and just let your neck, give it a lot of space. Just breathe in. And now put your arms out to the side as if you're trying to touch the walls. Stretching it. Giving yourself some space in your chest and your neck. As you slowly push your arms down. Oh. Bringing myself back in here.
Great.
And what that does is that stretch, I'll do that at the end of a session that I'm doing on telehealth. It's opening up the safety factors of the branch of the vagus nerve, that ventral vagal safety.
Beautiful. Well, what I was struck by is, a sense of just sending the message in my throat. It's safe to speak my truth. It's something that it's been coming up in energy healing sessions. There's sort of like a young part sort of feeling shut down around speaking my truth, and how that sort of lodged as sort of like for the fifth chakra safety, if you will, in the vagus nerve. So I appreciate how it's like going through systematically like this is actually surfacing different levels of where we might have felt unsafe and need to have that reprogram.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is very common to feel that shut down because a lot of children weren't allowed a voice growing up. And so this is a good place to work. And in my I also talk about how I believe that the throat up into the middle ears has this energy. I do talk about it in my book because I saw it. I saw someone that was very important to me. Their energy was coming up through their throat years ago, in through their mouth and out through their ears. And I couldn't figure out why. But this portion of our nervous system, as it goes up into our throat, also connects to our middle ear. And it's listening as well as speaking that allows for safety for us. And so it certainly also makes sense that we can feel the energy up in here.
Can you say a little bit why about the touching in that area is so important for part of the release and the retemplating?
So I believe that, first of all, as a Reiki master, we know that there's energy in our hands, as you well know, probably too, Stephen, right? You're getting energy work. So I love the fact that we can, through our touch of our own energy, hold on to certain parts of our body, those particular energies too, the chakras, they hold dimensions of who we are as humans. And these bottom ones, especially because they are holding on to the history that we patterned as children. So there's an element of safety, I believe, when we are able to touch ourselves safely in that regard. And then when we get up into here, I just love how we can be safe around our face. Our face is very vulnerable. We don't have horns. We don't have things that protect our face. So being able to just hold that space up here, like I was doing, like I was showing you, it allows for the connection to whatever the message is, but I believe it also allows at the same time to generate safety, because sometimes it's hard to access the message if aspects of the body don't feel safe enough to communicate it.
Makes total sense. Well, yeah, I'd love to just dive into further reaches of this. So like, how does this link up with like really manifesting our soul's purpose? So if we're intuiting that we have this larger purpose, and then we have these tangles of trauma that have sort of shut down our vagus nerve and some of our chakras, how can you sort of design a whole practice that helps to unravel that and really manifest the soul's purpose?
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Some of that goes to just what we were doing, some components of creating safety in the body. When we are safe, I think I mentioned that right off the bat, when we are safe in our bodies, it is so easy to access that warm, wise, universal light that's within us. So helping my clients, even if we're not processing actual traumatic events, helping them to find the resources for their body so they can access that self energy, that higher self. It's vital, because then I think it gives us hope. It gives us this little glimmer, right? Depending upon how much trauma we're holding in our bodies, it gives us the glimmer of what is in store, which I think starts unfolding the process of trusting our bodies and the messaging that we have. That's when we can really start tapping into and knowing, okay, we're here. We are here. This is us over here, this light. This is me too right now. And so within that there's always going to be a tension, always going to be the tension. We chose this experience. And it's hard. Sometimes being human is hard, but we chose that tension. And if we can live within that tension, I think it becomes a little easier just to lean into the light a little bit more, because we know there will be moments when we're going to experience that back and forth, and maybe find a little bit more of a centering point so that we know that we can access that light, our soul light.
What do you see as sort of the empowering message and truth for each chakra once the sort of some of the trauma patterns in the vagus nerve is soothed and calmed and we're feeling safe? Like what's the sequence of messages about how we are to be here?
You know, the thing that I always drop down into, I always say the psychological is the spiritual. If we're able to see our patterns, our early patterns, how we're interacting. So the sequencing really for me starts at these essential chakras, at the root, at the sacral, you know, the body, the emotion, the mind. Because if we can make room for them, because we like to shut those off because they can get a little disturbing sometimes when we get our stomach upset and everything else. If we can make room for them, I believe that this is going to be the easier part. You know, this is our ventral vagal. This is where we all want to be. But we can't forget these chakras. We can't forget this energy center. I'm touching my abdomen. You can't see me, but we can't forget this. And this is what we want to dissociate from, is this abdominal part, is the stomach upset, is all the twists and turn that we create in here for ourselves. This is what we want to numb when we eat too much. But this is what we need to embrace so that we can feel that full, I like what you're saying, that full sequencing within our system. And that also helps balance. That gets the vagus nerve into a good vagal health. So in other words, we might be scared. We might have this thing that freaks us out in the moment, but we can lean back into the safety mode a lot easier and not get locked down into fight, flight, or freeze. That's the vagal health. And that contributes, I think, also to what we consider the health of the chakras. When we're able to access, or when we're able to manage our vagus nerve and know what it is and know how it works for us, this becomes easy. This flows. And really, I'm starting to just put it out there. I think they're one and the same, because it's the chakras that are the soul energy that present through our nervous system.
I like that thesis. I really align with that. Well, I'd love to have maybe if you can share an example of somebody who's really taken this approach and how it's been able to transform very root level patterns and open up a deeper level of soul expression in the world. I think that'd be inspiring.
I'll just talk about myself. Since of course, as a trauma therapist, I truly believe in doing my own work. And so the more work that I have done, the more easily I have been able to drop down. I have done my own internal family systems work and my own EMDR personally. I do it as a professional, but I've done it personally. I have been able to really stay present in times that have been normally stressful. So let's say a difficult conversation, you know, with a spouse, right? You know, our nervous system goes, we don't want to do this again. But if we can breathe through that, we can access that. And within that is accessibility through communication, because you're present. You're able to be present in that moment of tension. So that, to me, is also what soul is when we can really be calm during a time when we want to be calm, or we should be calm, but we normally can't be calm because our interpretation, you know, our nervous system has interpreted difficult conversation, we're out of here. That changes everything. And that helps not only you connect to yourself, but it helps you connect deeper to a loved one or someone that you respect.
Makes total sense. Well, CJ, it's clear that you have a really fascinating body of work here that really offers a pathway of deep transformation for all who choose to venture onto it. So I want to spend some time now talking about your upcoming program, so how people can go deeper into this work. So we're really blessed that CJ has partnered with us to create a brand new program. It's called Harmonize Your Vagus Nerve and Chakras to Manage Trauma Response. Translate the signals your body is sending you to lead a soul-driven life. So you can find the program laid out in detail at identifyyourbodiesignals.com. There's no apostrophe, just bodiesignals.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites, and it really is just if you feel drawn to explore this deeper part of your being and how you can integrate and release trauma in a very holistic way and really open to a deeper level of soul embodiment, then you are warmly welcome to join. So CJ, I'd love for you to share first a broad overview of what's the value of taking this journey with you and how does people's lives change? And then we'll read out the module titles so you just a preview of what's coming in each.
I think the value, and it's for anybody really, because we all need to feel safe in our body. I think the value is getting different language and dropping down into a different experience so that we can, again, deepen our spirituality, deepen our sense of presence through that safety. So the value is in really understanding yourself differently and bringing the body into the room. Because sometimes we don't want to do that because it offers some difficult things. So hopefully, my hope is that whomever I'm working with comes away with a different language and a different way of being able to, a more effective way of being able to be present to themselves in a way that brings them peace, frankly.
So module 1 is entitled The Psychological is the Spiritual. Establish safety in your body through healing and grounding practices.
And we're going to go into some of the conversations that we've had about what is the psychological? How is it when we can go back and trace some of our patterns, some of our thinking patterns that may or may not have derived from early childhood things, why that is so important down the line to have more spiritual connection with yourself. And when I say spiritual connection to yourself, I really mean dropping down into us. So we're going to really break that down and have participants really work through some of their own patterns, some of their own thinking patterns, some of their own interactions.
Module 2, getting trauma informed to release shame about your emotional reactions.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how many people feel shame around some of these, what they think are emotional reactions that are, and we put emotions in quotes as well, because they look like emotion. They're really physiological responses. And so I want to help clients during that time break down, getting into understanding a little bit of pattern in their own system, and really break down what the difference between emotion and a neurobiological response is. Again, pulling the layers out so we can really see what's there.
Module 3, connect through your soul nerve to restore your system to safety through the power of your vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we were just talking about, that safety nerve, that ventral vagal safety branch of the nerve, being able to connect. How do we move back into safety in this branch of the nervous system? How do we identify it? What are some techniques? The soul nerve, that's that calm. That's that helping us to feel present in our body so that we can access that light for ourselves.
Module 4, connect your chakras and vagus nerve to experience their sacred alignment and profound healing.
More work, more fun work, hopefully, more work in regards to exercises that we're going to drop down into our body. We're going to find some great, I will be giving you some great opportunities to really work with your system a little bit so you can really feel there's nuances that go on here and you can really experience them.
Module 5, essential chakras and the vagus nerve. Learn how your first 3 chakras to help you safely navigate your life's journey.
Yeah, very much to what we just spoke about as far as, you were talking about the pulling these all together, not excluding the so-called lower chakras, not lower in regards to priority, but lower in regards to how they fit in our body, and really getting people to be comfortable with them and to befriend them.
Module 6, evolving chakras and the ventral vagus nerve. Bring greater clarity and connection into your life.
That is the heart, the throat. We're going to get into some middle ear conversation as to how we can make sure that this is all flowing as well, and bring safety into the system. We're really connecting to this part of our essential, the evolving chakras that bring us up into spirituality. But we also don't want to just stay in them for that reason if there's healing that needs to be done in here.
And finally, module 7, chakra and vagus nerve energies that can save our planet, create safety in all aspects of your life, and learn how to be a safe haven for others.
Yes, absolutely. I think we can see that in the whole world. When people don't feel safe in their own minds, in their own head, in their own reality, they cannot create safety for others. So it starts with us. And we don't necessarily have to worry about the world's problems, but maybe within our own circles, we can be a safer person internally, and as a result, safer within our relationships.
Well, it really comes all down to a deeper holistic sense of safety. And when you create that on all levels, it really magic can happen. So really great offering to help people do just that. So I'll share a little bit more about the program. And again, it's laid out in detail at identifyyourbodiesignals.com. So again, it's a 7-week program. You get all those live sessions with CJ. In addition, you're also going to get recordings of every session, both video and audio. And that's super helpful. So you can go back and go over meditations or repeat meditations or do practices again. If sometimes people want to listen in the car, so you have audio. You also get word for word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. And it's helpful to really identify what you want to go back to, as well as weekly exercises for learning at home. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. When you're doing the exercises and practice, that's where the real transformation happens. There'll also be the Facebook community group to support you and deepen your experience. And on the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses designed to enhance your journey. First off, there's a video interview with CJ and Suzanne Giesman, who's a wonderfully popular teacher at Shift, and it's called How and Why the Soul Chooses a Difficult Life. Sounds very intriguing. And CJ, I'd love for you to share a little bit about that dialogue between you about this concept of the soul actually choosing a difficult life.
When I knew that this is the work I was going to do, I was like, I have got to talk to Suzanne because the questions were, why do we choose these hard lives? Sometimes we get down here, maybe it's harder than we realize. And Suzanne is so effective as a medium and so thorough and so consistent in her work. Couldn't wait to ask her. So that turned into a fantastic conversation that just, I'm excited to be able to present that as part of this package.
That's great. And then there's also PDF chapters from the book that you've referenced a few times. These are Chakras and the Vagus Nerve. You want to share a little bit about those special chapters people are going to get?
Yes, what I chose are chapters 2 and 3, which really breaks down the system of the chakras and the system of and the vagus nerve. This ends up being support and information for the work that we're already doing. If people need to go back and reread, I wanted them to really have a good foundation that way.
And if that's not enough, there's one special bonus folks get when you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. And this gives you a little extra reason to tune in now. And if you get the sense to move forward, then you get a special bonus for doing so. There's a video interview with CJ and Dave Smith called Buddhist Perspective on Feeling. That's a little bit different angle than some of what we talked about today. Want to share more about that special bonus?
Dave Smith is phenomenal. He is a teacher. He does a lot of work in the Buddhist perspective. He's a Dharma teacher. We discuss the feeling tones from that Buddhist perspective, because within feeling tones, I won't go too much into it because you can hear it on this interview. That's what we feel in our body: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And so I had to get him into that conversation about our experience of everything we're talking about today, and how to mindfully be aware of the energies in our system, because that's really what a lot of this comes down to, is being mindful.
Beautiful. That's a great extra reason to sign up today, to really have that deeper perspective on mindfulness and how to link it with a trauma-informed perspective on healing. So this is going to be truly going to be a great program. Really integrates some of the best principles of psychology and trauma treatment with deeper understanding of chakras and our soul. And you can participate for a very reasonable investment. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start on March 28th and run Thursdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. And I particularly invite you to go check out the testimonials on the page. Suddenly everything about myself makes more sense. Inspiring and hopeful information, wonderful ability to make you feel welcome. There's a lot of great testimonials about the value of CJ's work and perspective in people's lives. So you are in really great hands, and you're in for a powerful journey to the frontiers of your integrating your soul and body and addressing residual traumas in a really holistic way. And you can get all the details at identifyyourbodyssignals.com. And you'll get that special bonus on the Buddhist perspective on feeling when you sign up by midnight tonight, Pacific time. So CJ, we're nearing the end of our time together. So a few minutes left. Anything that you still want to share with folks who are considering going deeper in this journey with you?
Well, I hope to see them because I have a lot to share. Very excited about the whole concept of healing that we can bring into our own lives on a regular basis. And just really want to allow people to understand that this is all about being kind to ourselves as well. It's about just being present and aware and curious. Of course, those are all mindful principles too. And just being able to be present with ourselves. We work so hard at avoiding that sometimes. And that's not what our soul wants.
No, our soul wants the full package.
It does. It wants us out there.
Yeah, and all these traumas and challenges are really amazing curriculum when we learn how to address them in a holistic way like you're offering. So thank you for helping to pioneer this pathway that really integrates the best of multiple systems into one holistic pathway. And thank you for your time. And you're welcome to join us at identifyyourbodyssignals.com, and you'll get that special bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you, CJ, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for having me.